Hello and welcome. This is the second episode of Girls Got Goals. I'm so happy that you're here. I've had such awesome feedback from the first episode and I cannot believe that I have my own podcast. This is so exciting. And I hope that you guys have had so much to benefit from the first episode already, hearing about my story. Now we're going to dive in and talk all about habits. And I think that I am a good person to talk about this too, because I've had so many different habits in my life, whether it be relationships, spiritual habits, financial habits, physical habits. I've had to really instill habits in every area of my life. And I think that the more disciplined we are, the more freedom that we can have in the future. So don't think about habits and discipline as something that's torturous or evil. Think of it that it is actually providing self-love to yourself by being disciplined and having like a certain habit and precise vision that you have for each area of your life. So before we dive in, a lot of this episode is from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's easily like the #1 best book out there for wanting to become a better person. Like every single chapter and page, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so good. I'm like freaking out at every page. In this book, it is just filled with so much knowledge. So I'm going to referencing a lot from that book in this episode. First episode, how to actually set, achieve, and conquer your goal. So it could be any goal. We're going to stick with mostly fitness because I am a fitness girly. So I'm going to stick with mostly fitness for this episode, but it doesn't have to be like a fitness goal that you have in mind. It could be a relationship goal. It could be a financial goal. It could be like a spiritual goal. Maybe it's, you want to become a more calm person and, regulate your emotions. Maybe that is a great goal for you. There could be so many different goals that you have for your life. So I'm going to go with fitness, but it could be any goal that you have that you want to accomplish. And yes, you can have more than one goal. So a habit is really an identity change. I think it takes 66 days to build a habit, and habits don't come overnight. And it really is a small compounding interest of tiny little improvements that we do each and every day. So it's not like, for example, you want to get stronger. Okay, so your goal is to do 100 push-ups every day. That's a little bit, like, it can happen, but if you are someone who doesn't work out at all to now suddenly doing 100 push-ups a day, I wouldn't say that's a realistic goal for you. So whatever goal it is that you want, whatever habit you want to bring in, it has to be a SMART goal. So a SMART goal is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. So you have to pick a specific goal, okay? Then it has to be measurable. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm going to track this and I'm going to work on it for the next 6 weeks, for example. I'm going to work at it and by the end of 6 months, I'm going to achieve this goal. It has to be actionable. So let's say you want to lose 50 pounds, okay? But you give yourself only 3 months to achieve that goal. That's probably, it's definitely not going to happen. So it has to be realistic, okay? Like if we want to lose a certain amount of weight, if we want to be a millionaire, for example, it's probably not going to happen in a year if that's your goal. Like it has to be, let's say you're making $5,000 a month. Okay, maybe the next step is $10,000 a month. It has to be like realistic goals for you at where you're at in life, okay? And it's not to say that you can't become a millionaire. It's not to say that it can't happen. It's not to say that you can't lose 50 pounds, but maybe, if your goal is to lose 50 pounds, maybe a realistic goal for you is 2 years. you know, depending on where you're at. Maybe it's 1 year, okay? You can't achieve that goal in a year. So it has to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. So once you have your goal in your head of what you want to achieve, and it's realistic for you of where you're at in your life, now you have to think of the habits that you're going to need. If your goal is 50 pounds, what habits do you need to accomplish and achieve in order to reach that goal? So when we think of habits, because that is what this episode is on, it really is an identity change, okay? If you want to lose 50 pounds, there are things that you're going to have to say no to. There are things that you won't probably get to do, maybe until after. It's a whole identity shift, okay? For me, when I was super overweight, I had to change my identity, okay? I was drinking too much, I was partying too much, I was eating too many fried foods, I was not tracking my calories, I was not exercising enough. I was a completely different person, okay? And in order to get to that point, in order to be able to lose that weight, you need to change your identity, how you view food. Okay, for me, I ate with my eyes, and oh my gosh, that looks really good. It was greasy, it was salty, it was fried, I was eating with my eyes. And if you count your calories, everything is in moderation. Even if you follow like an 80-20 principle, whereas 80% of the time you're eating clean foods, 20% you are allowing yourself the fried, salty, sweet, sugary, that kind of stuff. But the 80% of the time, you know, it's whole foods. The 20% is the deep fried, or what, if you want to have that, you can add that into your day if you're craving a cookie or whatnot. But for me, I was focused more on the 20%. I was eating with my eyes. I only wanted like high sugary foods that, you know, felt good in the moment when I was eating it. But after the 5 minutes, I was feeling sluggish. I was feeling drained. I had no energy. Also wasn't eating enough protein. It was giving me sugar crashes. Couldn't focus during my schoolwork. There are so many things that was not going right with my diet. It also wasn't making me feel good. I felt bloated all the time and watery and inflamed. And that all is because of my diet, because I was only like, yes, okay, sometimes I was eating fruit and sometimes I was having vegetables and things and protein, but I wasn't focusing on the 80%, which is the whole foods. I was eating with my eyes and not really focusing on how is this burger and fries with pop going to nourish my body? How is it going to benefit my body? What are the long-term benefits of me eating this? And it's not to say I don't enjoy burger and fries now. I still have that, but I'm not eating that every single day like I was before. I'm not eating donuts and going through drive-thrus, and like every morning I would go to the drive-thru at Tim Hortons or A&W, and I'll get a breakfast sandwich and a coffee. So probably not the best choice for breakfast. It's okay to have sometimes, but you really need to focus on that 80%. So for me, I had to change my identity, okay? I had to change how I viewed food, how I exercised, how I wanted to give myself that self-love and that self-care. So it really is all-encompassing. You have to change the identity. When we think about the identity change, this is really the most important part, but there are 3 layers of changing. And the first layer is changing the outcome or focusing on the result. For example, you want to lose 50 pounds or you want to become a millionaire. Okay, I'm just saying that, but maybe your goal is to make $5,000 a month, or maybe it could be anything, okay? So you have to so you want to change the result, you want to change the outcome of whatever it is. Maybe you want to run a 10K, maybe you want to accomplish a specific goal, maybe you want to write a book, okay? So a lot of times people focus on the result and the outcome. So, or whatever the achievement is. So it's the weight loss, it's the achievement, it's the goal. So that's the first layer. The second layer is the actual process. So what do you need to do to get there? So maybe it's implementing a new fitness routine, maybe it's going to bed earlier, maybe it's having a certain morning and evening routine if your goal is to maybe have more confidence. Maybe you need to develop like a meditation or a prayer routine if your goal is kind of inner calmness and peace with yourself. There could be so many different things, but that's layer number 2 is the process. So layer 1 is the actual outcome and result. Layer 2 is the process. So what do you have to change to get there? Number 3 is the identity. So this is what we actually need to be focusing on. So it's how you see the world, it's how you see yourself, it's the judgments we've made. For me, like when I was in the process of losing the weight, I didn't have a good identity. Like this was just for a short period of time too. Like I think we sometimes have little ups and downs, and this for me was like when I hit my rock bottom. So I'm just speaking about that. But when I hit the rock bottom for myself, I didn't see the world properly in that little like 1 year span. I had really low self-esteem, really low self-confidence, and I needed to rebuild that, right? So how you rebuild it also is keeping the small disciplines that you have with yourself. So when we are stacking up those disciplines, this is also how we build confidence. So when we're confident, it's because we stayed disciplined with ourselves, we've made ourselves proud, we made ourselves happy. It doesn't always have to be a big goal either. It could be like you got yourself to the gym and did your 30-minute workout. You decided to take the stairs up to your work office instead of taking the elevator. Like it doesn't have to be a big like achievement or goal. It could be something small that you feel proud of yourself for, and this is how we start to build that confidence up again. And it's those like compounding interests of those small things that we do every day where we're building up that confidence, building up that self-esteem, and slowly changing the identity portion of the habit. So if you want to change, most people only focus on the result or the outcome or the achievement, when really we need to first focus in on the identity, then focus on the process of how we're going to get there, and then we will get the result or the thing that we're looking for. Let's talk about the identity. So I think this is like a good, like I do this all the time as well. I like to journal and go through gratitude stuff. So I think this is really good to go through with yourself, like either now or at a different time. You could even write it out. If you're listening to this or if you're watching this on YouTube, you could just like hit pause and go through this with yourself. But you could just ask yourself these questions, like who do you want to become? And what do you have to stop doing in order to get there? Who do you have to stop hanging around? Who do you have to hang around more? What are some little changes that you could do today to get you to where you want to be in the next week and the next month and the next 6 months? What do you need to take away? What do you need to add? There's so many different questions. How can you fill yourself up with more gratitude? What can I be grateful for today? And they're really like every single day, like I love the sun, but I am stuck in a place that is cloudy and gray every single day. I could get down about that, but at the same time, it's a great way to look inwards and maybe take this time, because the seasons are changing, to do more self-reflection, do more inner work, read more books. So even though it's not like super inspiring to go for a walk outside, maybe I still do that, but I'll listen to a podcast or an audio. Maybe I take this time and be inside and go on the treadmill while doing my audio instead, listening to my podcast. So there's so many different things that we can switch and change with the seasons, which I think can be really inspiring for us as well. So like I said before, the ultimate form of like building the confidence and seeing the result is sticking to those small, tiny habits that we build every single day that becomes part of our identity. And the progress requires unlearning. So it requires unlearning of things that maybe if your goal is financial, but the process and the results don't really match up, like you don't have the result to speak for everything you've learned. Maybe you need to listen to some amazing teachers. I love Dave Ramsey, I think he's awesome. But maybe you need to speak, and I'm not like anywhere close to my financial goal as well, but we need to be listening to people who have what we want, that outcome that we want, whether it be fitness, relationship, spiritual, financial. I also have mentors in every single area of my life, which I find it doesn't have to be like you pay them. It could be someone on YouTube, maybe it's someone, a close friend. But a problem with friends as well is sometimes they can be too nice, where we need someone to be direct with us and tell us, you know, the hard truths. And I think a lot of times, like friends and family, they are very nice and they don't want to say, hey, you need to really focus on this, in a loving way, of course. But I think that's super beneficial to us because it can help us become, you know, the person that we're meant to be. And it helps build that mental toughness and gets us out of that rut, because the process of unlearning is obviously what we're doing what we've done up until today hasn't been working. So what do we need to, what are the mental beliefs that we have about different things that we need to break down, that we need to get rid of? And like me as well, I have to go through the same thing as well, of what is something that I have thought about a certain topic that I no longer believe and stand by. An example for me could be, for the longest time, I thought that like you could only be successful if you work in an office job. So I have a degree in marketing and I applied for so many corporate jobs. I thought that that was my goal. I want to work corporate. I want to work in like a swanky office in downtown Toronto, and I am going to be successful and happy, and this is my dream. Oh my gosh, I applied. I physically went with my resume to so many different corporate offices. I'll intern for you, I'll work for you, and I kept getting denied. And I think those closed doors, like when I was in the process of handing out my resume, that was just a blessing in disguise, because what I thought I wanted, what I thought was like the dream for me, that really wasn't. That's not something that I wanted for my life. And I think like it can be awesome and it could be great, but I thought that that was what I wanted, and I was so discouraged. Like, why didn't I have an open door? You know, I thought that I have my degree, I'm gonna be so successful. That's another thing too, like an old belief I guess was, as long as you have like your degree, like I wasn't even a diploma, I went to university, I got my degree, and I was programmed to believe that you have this degree in your hand, that you know you're gonna get a great job, great paying job. And there's so many people now with degrees, and it's super sad, but they can't get a job, or it's like entry level, very, very like low paying jobs. So I think that's like a belief that I had when it came to like education, that you can be successful without having a degree as well. And like if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a nurse, if you want to work in corporate, then by all means get a degree, and let's say you know someone in the industry, for sure go for it. But for me, that's something that I had to unlearn with myself. But it could be like, it could be anything. It could be a relationship, it could be it really could be anything. Hiring like a coach, having a mentor, you definitely don't need to pay for that. Some I have paid for, others I haven't, but I really think that having a mentor and having a coach, someone to guide you, whether that be in your finances, relationships, spiritual, fitness mentor, I really do think that if we don't know all the answers, but having that outside look into your life can be so, so incredibly beneficial. And it's been like very eye-opening for me. Yeah, I cannot stress how amazing it is to have like a mentor or a coach or someone to speak over your life and to help you in those areas, and to work with you even for like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I think it's like, it's amazing what can accomplish when you have the right people around you. For me too, like not that the friends and the people I hang out with were bad in any means, but you need people who are 3 or 4 steps ahead of you, whether that comes to your fitness, your health, your relationships, and you see the fruit of what they're talking about. You see the benefit, like the results speak for itself, because you can talk about it, but you obviously want the actions to back it up. Like if someone's been married for 50 years, for example, you want the couples who've been happily married for 50 years. So I think like the goal is important, but being healthy, sustainable, yeah, just really having health is the most important thing. So let's say you lost 15 pounds, but you were stressed the entire time, you were crying, you had a really bad relationship with food, you barely ate, like you were eating really low calories, you had a very restrictive diet. All of these things, like, yes, okay, that's great, the outcome is great, but you want to make sure that you're doing it in a healthy and sustainable way. Which, yes, removing, for example, carbs, there's been so many benefits of like the keto diet, and I know so many people who have so many benefits from that, and that's great. But for me, I strongly believe in balance, and that doesn't include cutting out a whole food group. I enjoy my carbs. Carbs give us energy, carbs give us fuel, they help us with our workouts, and I could not imagine a world without sweet potato. I love my sweet potato fries. And I just think balance is super important, and doing things that are sustainable and realistic for you, like we said at the beginning of this talk. So having a goal that's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. What else? So lastly, about the habits, a lot of times we focus on the motion of doing it. And I think the motion is a great start. So this is action versus motion. So if you focus on the motion, that could be, okay, you want to be a fitness girly. So now you are following all the Instagram accounts, you're saving all the workout videos, you're looking on YouTube, TikTok, you're finding all this motivation. Maybe it's, if you want to eat healthier, you're saving all these recipes and doing all of that. And I think the motion part is great because it's a sign that we want to be better, we want to feel better. But where we should be focusing in on is the actual action. So we don't get results by the motion, we get results by the actual doing part. So the doing part is actually making the recipe. The doing part is actually working out, actually doing that workout that we saved. So we need to spend more time on the action and less time on the actual motion part. And, I do it too. I like the motivation, I save the recipes, I save the workout videos, I save the little inspo talks, because I think that is important for us to feel motivated. But if that's all we're doing and we're not focusing on actually doing the thing, then that is where it can lead into trouble, and that's when we can start getting down on ourselves. We don't feel good enough. This is when our confidence starts to go down, because we're not sticking to those disciplines, we're not making ourselves proud by actually doing the thing. And I say that with love, because I've gone through times in my life where I've done the exact same thing. But if we're not doing it as well, then, like I said, that is when there's an inconsistency between the process, between the actual result of what we want versus the identity and the process of actually doing it. So we want to focus on taking action, not just watching the motion of doing the action. So, one more part which has to go with the SMART goals. There's a law of least effort. So we are motivated to do what is easy, okay? So like I said at the beginning of this, if we want to have a goal of losing 50 pounds, so we say we're gonna work out every day for 75 days. But if we're not used to working out, there is a very, very, very high likelihood that you are going to fail. And I don't mean to say that harshly, but I'm just being realistic with you. If you do achieve it, then that's great, that's awesome. Maybe you're part of the 2% of the people who actually achieve it. But to actually go and work out every day for 75 days, if you're not already working out, that is going to be a very high likelihood of failure. So we need to be motivated by little small actions, little small things that we do every day. So maybe instead of working out super hard for 75 days, maybe it's you're gonna go for a walk. You're gonna commit to at least 20 minutes of exercise, whether it be go for a walk, do a stretching workout, Pilates workout, you're gonna head to your gym for 20 minutes. It just needs to be something that is so incredibly easy for you to accomplish. Like make it, like you need to dumb it down all the way for yourself to get you to accomplish it. So if your goal is to lose weight, don't buy the gym membership that is on the opposite side of the city. Buy the gym membership that is like on your way to work or from work. Make it so easy for you to commit to your goals. You're gonna pass by it every day. It's a no-brainer for you to stop in for 40 minutes and get your workout in. And then it doesn't have to be every day as well. 3 times a week, I think, is a great start of implementing like an hour workout or a half an hour workout, whatever you can commit to. And it's different for everyone. So please don't compare to your friend that's doing a certain challenge or someone you see online. It has to be specific and realistic for you, because if it's not realistic, you're not going to follow it, you're not going to achieve it. So make sure that it's realistic for you and start stacking some wins, okay? So once you stack some wins of hitting those workouts 3 times a week, maybe let's add 4 times per week. So slowly start stacking those wins, building that confidence up, and then you'll also see the results that will match that certain process. And don't expect the results to come in a week or even 2 weeks. It definitely can happen though. You definitely can see some progress in 2 weeks, but the real progress is gonna come 3 or 6 months down the line. You're gonna say, oh my gosh, look at how my mindset has changed. Look at all these healthy foods I'm eating. Look how much my energy has improved. I'm so much more focused at work. I'm so much more present with my family because I'm not stressed out all the time, because I'm giving my body good, healthy, nourishing foods. I'm doing my gratitude journal. I'm writing down my goals. I'm listening to positive people around me. Like, so much can change when we just start focusing on what we're putting into ourselves, our ears, what we're listening to, what we're watching, who we have surrounding us. Like, so much can change. I promise you, I've done the exact same thing. So once we do this, we will change our habits, we'll build a new identity, and we will actually start achieving those goals that we have in place. So I hope you love this podcast. Please, please, please give it a 5-star if you haven't already done so. And if you could leave me a little review, that would be awesome. And if you have any requests for topics, you can email me. My email is info@hannahmccrae.com. If you have any requests for videos, or if you just want to send me a little message, I would love that. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast, episode 2. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your week.